What is going on, everyone? It is Tyler McKinney back here again, and I am literally shocked. Wow, what a game. Spoiler alert. If you haven't watched the games yet, you need to watch the games before you watch this if you don't want me to spoil it. And you're going to be spoiled in 3, 2, 1. All right, talking about these games, I can't help myself. The Guardians playing like they did, coming out there. Who did they think they were to go up against the undefeated team, take them to the brink and beat them? Literally missing the field goal at the end of the game to win that game. That was awesome. It's exactly what we wanted. The game was on ESPN. It was everything that you would want, and it had big time feel of it. It looked really good. The production was great. It was awesome. This was a shootout back and forth. It was a great game. I'm getting ahead of myself, but these two games, I was just shocked by both of them. And it was, both of these games were fun games to watch, and they were fun to interact with. I've been having internet issues and power issues all day. It has nothing to do with this. It has to do with the weather, to where it was kind of crazy because I could hit part of the game and then our internet would go out and then I could hit. I digress. Let's go ahead though, and we're going to go ahead and start breaking down these games and looking at them. The first game was the game between the Brahmas, and it was Vegas, and this one was a nice game at 3 o'clock. On ESPN2 was a good game. It was fun. I really enjoyed it. If there's one takeaway I have from this game, it was just absolutely hilarious watching them, work with that under, and the under that they had cashed in. Literally 24 minutes of football went by in the last part of the game without a score. They were just under, I think it was like 38 points. It's 38 and a half, literally the half point, and it cashed in. Ian Fitzsimmons. It was fantastic to watch. And the cool thing was, it was like, this was this thing that the announcers were going through during the game, back and forth with the sideline reporter, and he had his ticket and he was showing his ticket, and it was funny. And he's like, here, they're going to go kick the field goal. I'm going to rip this thing up. And lo and behold, he kicked the field goal and it's wide. I mean, it was a chip shot. I mean, it was just that crazy and fun of a evening and a night. And it just kept getting crazier from there. The production was great. The production team has been doing really well. They're starting to get camaraderie together with one another, which is kind of nice, and we're starting to get away from that repetitiveness of things. And yeah, it was a nice experience. It was nice to watch. It's the best showing that we've had there at Cashman Field. And I will have to say, these two teams looked different than what they have all season, and my hat has to go off to both of them. The Vipers ended up getting the win, which I was kind of shocked by, but all in all, it kind of makes sense why they ended up getting the win. The Brahmas had a really nice first drive of the game. Ben Kirk, he definitely led this team fairly well, but you could definitely tell he was injured. After he took that hit and he got pounded in the ground, something happened with the way that he landed and his chest. He just didn't, come out right. He was 21 for 31. Let's go ahead and scroll this on down. Here we go. 21 for 31 for 59 yards, a touchdown and an interception. Yeah, the interception was kind of one of those plays to where I don't know if he and the wide receiver were off, if he threw that, he threw it down the field, was trying to get something out of it, trying to make, and it just got picked off. He got sacked 3 times, and I will say he was running for his life a bit in this game. I don't know if maybe that wide receiver could have cut in front of the defender. You never know with some of that stuff sometimes, and that, part of that is camaraderie and comfort and knowing your wide receivers and knowing the quarterback and things like that. But they found a quarterback. If he can be healthy, I mean, that's the thing. I don't know, he had to come back out at the end of the game with his chest. He definitely seems like he was playing hurt after that. He just looked different after that, but they've kind of found a guy there. Patrick didn't run he kind of is that big bruising runner, and I don't really think that they've got another guy besides that, a guy to kind of spell that, to be kind of a more dynamic guy, because I think if they can put another guy in there with Ben Kirk, I think that they can kind of, work their way around with some of that. And, looking at these wide receivers, this is where things made a difference, and I don't know, they were talking about how Akers had all those catches. Like, yeah, he had a bunch of catches, but he never really had any yards until today. And the difference was that was really kind of the thing. They were finding him, and he was able to catch the ball and run after the catch, which was a nice thing to see. It was really, really neat to see in this game, to see just how, Ben Kirk with his decision making really kind of changed the trajectory of this offense. I didn't really feel like this offense was really that flat throughout the game, and as flat as what they had been in the past. It was just kind of nice to see. It was like these guys turned, I don't know, it just made them be more dynamic. And I think a lot of it had to do with the quarterback and the way that the quarterback played, in this game. I was really taken back by how well the defense played fairly defense. They just couldn't fairly decent on, with things. It was probably one of their worst showings, believe it or not. But when you actually sit down and look at it, a lot of it has to do with, it wasn't necessarily that they were terrible. It was just that the other team really, I'm kind of surprised by saying this, the Vipers actually played, decent on offense. And not that they haven't in the past, but it's just, they were converting things. They were making things happen. They weren't really shooting themselves as much. In the foot here, I'm, pulling it up. They still had 12 penalties. I don't know. I guess give me a second. I'm getting ahead of myself. But it really just kind of came down to the Brahmas kind of gave things up to the Vipers, and that's what made the difference. They had the 3 turnovers on offense. They had the pick and a couple of fumbles, and it just like they could do things, but they never really could get things going enough to really score and to bring that thing back. Like I said, we had 24 minutes at the end that were just scoreless. Literally, the Vipers scored the first drive of the second half, and that was it. That was the end of our scoring there. So let's go ahead and I want to go ahead and turn things over here now and look at kind of the Vipers. So as I'm looking at things here, getting it ready, McClendon, man, did he surely show up in this game. I was very pleased with him. Now I know why, and everybody else knows why he was their guy to start this game. These numbers are really good. 21 for 31 for 200 and 264 yards. That was pretty good. He had the 2 touchdowns, which I thought were great. Rod Smith played his rear end off. He probably had the best game that he has had all around, blocking, running, catching. It didn't matter. He was making a difference in this game, and he did a really, really nice job with it. Lovett came in. Lovett didn't have the best game. They seemed to really bottle him up, but Smith really worked well with McClendon. McClendon's ability to be elusive, to take the ball and scramble with the ball, to also pull the ball and run with it, really accentuated and really helped what they were doing with Smith, and really made Smith shine. This might be one of the highest yards per carry that we've seen with Smith all season. So he looked really good there. This wide receiver core really they really started to look good. And when you get a guy that's actually throwing you the ball, that you get a guy that can really get you open, get you moving, that you can really see what's going on here. Now, Jeff Badette, he only had the 2 catches. He got hurt, and it was a hamstring thing, and so he was out earlier on in the game, and really didn't have an ability to make an impact, any more than that. But man, Sexton made a lot of really good catches and played that kind of, I don't know, scat slot receiver type of a guy, catching the ball and getting runs after the catch. I mean, he did a really nice job with that. Allison had, stepped up and kind of was that back. He was that wide receiver that they've been looking for, the guy to really go up and catch the ball. Price is one we haven't talked about that kind of, stepped up, had that touchdown catch. So this is a team that is starting to find themselves. I was kind of shocked that they ended up winning. I figured the Brahmas, with what was at stake and being able to project themselves and even things out with the Renegades, I thought that they would take this game and really run with it. And I think a lot of it had to do with Benkirk getting hurt. I think had Benkirk not gotten hurt, I think that things might have been a little bit different for them. But yeah, this Vegas team really, outside of the penalties, which they've got to figure out how to get rid of those. I mean, they need, having that many penalties in a game is just ridiculous, and you can't continue on having that. They need to figure that out. I think it's probably a little too late for this Vipers team with only 3 weeks left in the season, but they could end up being 500. I mean, who knows? It's kind of crazy. Everything's wide open now. I mean, shoot, you got the DC Defenders literally losing to a winless team, and looking, you can definitely see now. You can see their weaknesses, and teams can maybe exploit that and go with it. So the Brahmas, though, they're only one game back with this, so this thing isn't really out of the question here. There's really a lot of opportunity for this team to kind of go through to still make the playoffs. I think for me, it depends upon really how Pass is if Pass is going to be the quarterback or if it's going to be Benkirk. If Benkirk's going to be the guy, then I think that they'll be okay if he's healthy. Pass, I think, and you could see some of those deep throws that he made, they just weren't what Benkirk can do. I mean, it's just a different game with him in there. But I think if Benkirk is healthy, they can get him back in there. They can figure out some ways to win and get themselves in the playoff. Let's move now to the game that I really want to talk about, and that's the Guardians and the DC Defenders. Wow, this game was a shocker. I was shocked. I was shocked by the fact that the Guardians came out and went toe-to-toe with DC. It was one of those things to where it's like, okay, DC's going to come out. They're going to do their thing. That's cool. And then the Guardians came out and they're like, they're doing their thing. And then these teams are going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I'm like, when are the Guardians going to make the mistake that are going to really hurt them? And actually, believe it or not, it were the Defenders that were the ones that actually ended up hurting themselves in the long run. I mean, the thing that was crazy for me is when you actually look at the penalties. So the penalties for the two teams, you would have thought, because the Guardians have had real bad issues with penalties this whole season, you would have thought that it would have been them that would have had the issues, but it was the Defenders. 9 penalties for the Defenders. They're usually not that bad. Usually they're a lot more disciplined than what they were. But, late hits at the end of the game, not securing the ball. I mean, the fumbles really is partly what did them in, but not taking care of the ball, missing opportunities. Those were the things that really, really hurt this team in this game. They, offensively, they looked great. That defense I was kind of a little bit surprised that, I thought that they would be a little bit more stout than what they were, but, the Guardians were up for the task. And, Quentin Dormady, had he had been on this team earlier in the season, it would have been interesting to see, what would have happened. Now, I do know that they've added some other pieces in here, and that's kind of cool that they've been adding guys to, season's not done yet. Yeah, they've got really they're not really playing for anything, more pride at this point, but, guys are still coming in. Guys are still signing up with the team, still playing with the teams. We're still figuring things out here. So it was really cool to see this. I really enjoyed this game through and through. Hopefully it does well for them in the ratings. It was a fun one. It was a nice one to watch. It started out sunny there in Orlando. And, and then it turned into a night game, and having when would score. It was like a college feel, where they would flash the lights in the stadium. So I'm sure the fans that were there, it gave them a really great experience, having a really nice close game, a fun game, and then their hometown heroes coming out and winning and getting their first win of the season against a completely undefeated team. Nobody thought that they were going to win this game, and they really had no business winning this game. And this is something we've needed in the XFL all season. Some of you out there, I've been commenting with you in the comment section about that we really haven't had a whole lot of shocking, games. This is a shocker of all shocker. I mean, this was a crazy, no one expected this to happen. And especially the way that they did. The Guardians just went toe to toe with them. And you were waiting for the Guardians to do what they've done, and that's shoot themselves in the foot with whether it be penalties, whether it be, the turnovers. I mean, they did have the turnover by Williams, and that was kind of crazy, but actually that defense decided, we're going to play, we're going to go, and they did with it. So that was pretty good. Let's go ahead and start with the defenders and looking at them. This was probably Te'amu's best game throwing the ball. So, looking at his stats, he was 21 for 29 for 285 yards, and he had 3 touchdown passes. He was on his game the whole night. There's definitely no doubt about it. He had commanded that offense. He ran that offense, and really King only came in for just that one drive and had that really silly touchdown at the back of the end zone. It was like a 12-yard pass, but he ended up throwing like a 30-yard bomb because he ran back so far with it. But yeah, it was both of the guys played well, looked good. It was just that not their night when it came to to winning. They were the ones that were kind of left out in the cold here. Looking at running the ball, Smith had another big game, another big day. He did have the big fumble at the end of the game that really cost him the game. But I mean, shoot, you can't say a whole lot. 18 carries for 127 yards, 7 yards a carry, and 1 touchdown. Armstead, he played all right. And Te'amu ran when he needed to, and really got the yards when they needed. On the receiving side of things, you got guys like Blair, Lucky Jackson. I think there was a couple of passes that I thought that Lucky Jackson could have caught. That he dropped in this game, but he did make up the one and get a touchdown. The other one, and I ended up with 2 touchdowns. You had Blair with the 1 touchdown there. You had Moore McKinney with the touchdown. Hey. Another McKinney out there taking and scoring, and really you could see they dished the ball around a lot in this game. They played, like I said, on offense. It was really hard. It's hard to knock them. Really, it was the defense giving things up for them tonight that was really the issue for them. Reality is that their offense was kicking, and so yeah, I was just really just kind of impressed and pleased by the offense on their side of things, and it was fun. And Joseph had another turnover there. They ended up on defense. It was just a little bit of a weird defensive night for this team. You would have thought that they would have been a little bit more dominant, but it just goes to show you that this Guardians team with Dormady at quarterback, he's really starting to figure things out here. So let's go ahead and let's look at what we got going on with the Guardians here. Guardians going ahead and getting the win in this one. So we got Quentin Dormady. Dude, the guy was you're reading it right. He was 27 for 34 on the day. That's just kind of crazy insane. He had 328 yards, averaging 9.6 yards, with 3 touchdowns. He was sacked 3 times. He looked really, really good. Martin running the ball. He doesn't look completely healthy to me, but he ran the ball decent, ran strong, got yards when he needed to. Dormady did what he needed to do with his legs, and he's not going to be running around being a crazy guy running the ball all the time, but he did what he needed to do. I'll tell you the thing though that has me Darrington had some carries, and Darrington did a pretty good he was all right. I would have liked to have seen him being able to punch some things in, but that's all right. I guess that's what you have your quarterback for, when your quarterback scores 3 rushing touchdowns on the day. So he has 3 touchdowns passing. He has 3 touchdowns rushing. I mean, the guy literally took over the game. And this is a guy that, got kicked off of the team for supposedly, giving their playbook to another team. And you just wonder what if with this team, the way that they're playing right now. These wide receivers for me are just where, they look really good. Latimer, what more can you say? I mean, the guy is clutch. He knows what he needs to do. Super hard to cover just because he's a coverage nightmare. Rambo had some nice catches. Williams is a guy, he's only been with the team for a couple weeks now, and had some solid catches. He had the fumble there, but I mean, he's really becoming a nice producer for this team. Can't help but talk about Thomas. Literally can't see, but gets the pass interference to set things up for the rushing touchdown for the quarterback. So it was, really cool to see that. Rodgers had 4 there. That was it was a fun all around game. I really enjoyed the day. I enjoyed everything with it. It was actually, really cool to see everything that was going on. We had our first kickoff return for a touchdown. That was neat. And I've said these things before that, I'm not a fan of the kickoff, but I don't know, maybe now that I'm actually seeing that there's strategy in it, and that they're literally like developing plays for it, that it's becoming one of those things to where, I'm kind of starting to like it. Like I said, this was a shocker week. I mean, we had just some crazy things. Who would have thought that the 2 worst teams in the league, with only 1 win between them, both would win on a weekend. It was weird. It was fun. I enjoyed it. Looking forward to more going forward. As always, I want to know what you think. Let me know what you're thinking with this, what your thoughts are on this shock week, and we'll continue the conversation on down in the comment section. Listen, guys, I know that you're busy, and I know that I'm busy, so let's get on out of here. You have a good night. Bye.